Where does Joe Mazzulla actually rank on the list of NBA head coaches? A list going around the internet really upset some people. And how much luck do the Celtics need to repeat? It's all right now in the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Thanks to Blockbuster brand, it's holiday season, drop Drew in the mix. And 3 from KP, no we not on the Knicks. Flushing competition like Al on Giannis. Juice and Big Juice, still B-Town's finest. Banner 18 going up in the rafters. Watch the C's game in locked on after. Karalis on the breakdown, clutch like a tip from D. White on the breakdown. John on the mic, documenting domination. Matter pen a back bay, it's all C's nation. Rain and Jace, how we started, raising banners, how we finish. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners. Peace.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast. Right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. I got you covered every Monday through Friday. So make sure you are subscribed wherever you get your podcasts. Watch the show on YouTube and get to the comment section. Let me know what you're thinking. I'm John Karalis. If you're new to the show, I've been covering this team for about 20 years now. I'm doing it right now for Boston Sports Journal as a beat writer. I've also written a couple of books. Built Different is the latest one. You can find that everywhere books are sold. And on my website, johnkaralis.com, signed copies, $30. I'll inscribe it however you want. I'll send it to you, $30. U.S. orders only, international. It's a bit of a different story. Sorry. But buy it on my website. We're actually going to get to some mailbag questions in the second and third segments. But I want to start here with Joe Mazzulla and where he ranks amongst NBA head coaches, because I was on Twitter, and I know basing my shows on things that happen on Twitter is always kind of like, fraught with peril. But I thought maybe this one would work here. By the way, today's show brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase of last-minute tickets. So CBS Sports puts out its ranking, typical mid-September content, and Celtics fans were not happy with Joe Mazzulla in the 11th slot. And the problem, not necessarily like, okay, 11th, that seems a little low for a guy who just won a championship in his second year, but that guys like Ime, Will Hardy, those guys, maybe even Nick Nurse at this point, ranked above Joe Mazzulla. So I wanted to, first of all, look at this and say, okay, where is he ranked, really? Ranking coaches, so difficult. No one really knows. Honestly, no one in the sports media sphere really knows, is Steve Kerr a little bit better than Tyronn Lue or a little bit worse than Tyronn Lue? We don't know. All we can get is, did they win? And generally, did they do better than we expected? The Celtics have been expected to win a championship for a little while now, and Joe being the guy to get them to the championship is like, that's nice. Great for you to be able to figure out a way to get them over the hump. But he does get demerits for having a good team, which is, look, I get it. There are some teams out there that are so talented that you could throw anybody out there and they would do well, which, okay, fine. If that's how you want to do it, then that's how you want to do it. But does that mean Steve Kerr? The ranking here is Spo, number one. I feel like most people are like, okay, yeah, fine. Spo's number one at this point. Then it's Nick Nurse, Rick Carlisle, Steve Kerr, Ty Lue, Mark Daigneault, Will Hardy, Ime Udoka, Mike Budenholzer, Tom Thibodeau, and Joe Mazzulla at 11. Then Chris Finch, Mike Brown, Greg Popovich, and so on, so on, so on. Is Steve Kerr really the fourth best coach in the NBA? He's had some real talented rosters. So is he a good coach because he had prime Steph and prime Clay and Kevin Durant and Draymond Green? If you're going to hold a team of incredible talent against the coach, then why is Joe Mazzulla down at 11 and Steve Kerr at 4, especially when that talent starts to fade? What has happened with the Golden State Warriors? He hasn't exactly coached them into a spot where, like, maybe you look at Eric Spoelstra. The reason why Eric Spoelstra is at the top, because when he's got talent, he wins. When he doesn't have talent, he wins. He finds a way to win. He finds a way to be competitive, no matter who you throw out there. Me, you, two people you just passed on the highway. You could take all of us and put us on an NBA roster, and I feel like Spo will be like, okay, yeah, we'll get like 30 wins out of those slobs, but not you. I'm the slob. But the point is, yeah, I get it with Spo. I get it. He has earned that spot. Some of these guys haven't really earned much. Kerr is up for some serious debate here because he's had a ton of talent. Rick Carlisle, what's he done? He's gotten, he had, Pacers have been better than expected. So he gets a bump. Nick Nurse, he won a championship with Kawhi. And since then, has been some questions. And he ended up leaving Toronto. But he plays a lot of zone, and he gets funky zone, and he gets defense. So, okay, fine. The point I'm bringing up with these guys is who really knows? Why is Will Hardy ranked 7th? He's had a few not great seasons with the Jazz, but he's also had them playing hard and busting through some early expectations and then fading down the road. So people say, well, he's getting them to play above their heads, so he must be a good coach. Is Joe Mazzulla gotten guys to play above their heads? I think it's as big a coaching challenge to get Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown to play the styles that they did over the past 2 seasons and get them to play how they needed to play to get to a championship. Now, is Joe number 1? No, he's not number 1. Is he top 5? I don't know if he's top 5. Maybe he is. Maybe he isn't. But 11th feels a little low. I guess when it comes to where he stands in the NBA, he's just going to need more time for people to kind of appreciate the ego management, and I think, I don't want to put him and Phil Jackson in the same sentence right now, because Phil Jackson has a few more championships, right? But Phil Jackson had Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen. He had some pretty stacked rosters. He had Kobe and Shaq. And the whole thing with him was Zen Master. He was the weird one. He was the guy who gave his team books to read, right? He wasn't the tactician. He wasn't the brilliant out of timeout guy. He had Tex Winter to design his offense. The triangle was Tex Winter's offense. Phil Jackson was just the guy that kept Kobe and Shaq from murdering each other, that kept Michael and Scotty on the same page, that kept guys where they needed to be, that kept Dennis Rodman somehow tethered enough to come in and perform enough to help them win championships. Like, that's the Phil Jackson MO. So, and as I've said before, everybody at this level knows X's and O's. So, yeah, take any of these guys, JJ Redick, who's last on this list because no one knows what exactly he's going to be as a head coach. Charles Lee, who's 28th because no one knows exactly who he's going to be as a head coach. Those guys know X's and O's better than anybody, or as well as anybody. Like, you watch JJ Redick do his podcast and all that stuff. He knows the game. All these guys know the game. You don't get to this level without knowing the game. But at what point does Joe get the national respect? I know we've been very high on Joe Mazzulla. I'm high on Joe Mazzulla because I believe in his mentality. I believe in what he preaches from a personal level to these guys. And at the NBA level, that's the type of thing to get people to perform. And the guys do what he's asking for on the floor. But he gets demerits because there's a lot of talent, and they won a championship. They're supposed to win a championship. I think I would put him somewhere I would put him above Will Hardy. Will Hardy, I love Will, but he hasn't done anything Dagnall, yeah, the Thunder have a lot of talent too, by the way. They've outperformed expectations. I'd put Joe in that top 5 or 6, I think. Above Ime, above Will. At this point, Budenholzer, he's got a championship. Above Thibodeau. Well, I mean, Tibbs, at least Joe subs his guys. So rankings are subjective. And what I tweeted out was, the Simpsons joke, just don't look, the Paul Anka thing. So if you know that joke, look it up. Simpsons just don't look. That's the best way to approach these things. If somebody's slighting a Boston Celtic, just don't look, blow it off. But I do think Joe Mazzulla ranks at this. He just won a championship. He's had 2 really damn good seasons in the NBA. One of them, he had 2 weeks to prepare. I think he knows what he's doing. I think he gets it. So he needs to be ranked higher. How high? Yeah, we'll see. But higher than 11th, that's for sure. Hey, let's get to the mailbag. People have been submitting questions. Got questions about percentages of skill and luck to repeat. Where does Jayson Tatum end up on the all-time points scored list? Let's take a look at that. All coming up in just a second. Today's show is brought to you by Gametime, the place to get those tickets you're looking for, especially at the last minute. I'm over here on my Gametime map over here, just kind of cruising through what's around me in Providence. And I'm like, hey, look at this. The black and gold game, Providence Bruins. That sounds fun. Toggle in the all-in pricing. I know I can get in for $58, and it's showing me right away on the app the view I can get from my seat. It's telling me which one's the cheapest. It's giving me the flash deals. It's a great way to get those last-minute tickets. It's not just sports. It's comedy. It's theater. It's music. Whatever you want to do, type in what you're looking for. It'll find it, especially if you are on a Saturday night. You're like, what are we going to do? Let's see what's going on. You can find those tickets. They've got those flash deals, the lowest price guarantee, which credits you 110% of the difference. You can find those same tickets somewhere else for less. That panoramic view is clutch because you know what you're looking at. You know what to expect when you get to the arena, and that's a big deal. All-in pricing is a huge feature because I know when I check out, the number that I see is the number I'm going to pay. So go check out the Gametime app. Take the guesswork out of buying these tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA. That also gets you $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA, LOCKED, LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Download Gametime today. What time is it? Gametime. Thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Go check out Locked On Sport, Locked On NBA. Locked On NBA. Go check out Locked On NBA. Make that your second listen. I host on Wednesday with Jake Madison. Go check us out. Have some fun talking about the NBA with us. Subscribe. Make it your second listen after you're done listening to this show. Mailbag questions have come in via johnkaralis.com/mailbag. So I wanted to get to a few of those today before we turn the page and start looking ahead to training camp, which begins in a week. By the way, this is the September 17th show. September 24th is Media Day. Media Day is almost here. We're a week away. Oh, my God. I can't believe it's already here. Mailbag questions, johnkaralis.com/mailbag. So first question here comes from Ed. Ed asks, to repeat as NBA champions, what percentages of skill and luck are needed to accomplish that goal? I love this question because there is no direct answer, but it's a significant number, right, of each. This is not 80% skill, 20% luck. You do need, I would say, you need more skill than luck. It's at the very least, it's 75-25. I don't think you can ever win a championship without 25% just luck, just not having injuries or guys healing at the right time or injuries that opponent suffers or just whatever, like shot going in, not going in, right? Joe Mazzulla brought it up when I did my podcast with him 2 weeks ago at this point. The Indiana series, you screw up. You give Aaron Nesmith a wide open corner shot, and it just didn't fall. That's luck. That's just luck. That happens every game. So within the games, there are times where you screw up and it doesn't go your way. There are times where, just like when the Celtics play well, there are times where the Celtics execute perfectly and they miss the shot. That's bad luck. Good luck for the other team. So my baseline here is 75-25. I think it could be more like 65-35 skill versus luck. Like, you need the skill. But honestly, 35-30%, somewhere in that range, luck during the course of the season. And that means from training camp to the end of the playoffs. You need things to go your way. You need certain shots to fall. And I'm not even getting into the luck that you don't even see. How did Milwaukee lose that game? How did New York lose that game? Right? Did this signing of this guy, that didn't go well? Well, that guy just got a divorce. You just traded for the biggest player around, and he's going through a divorce. And now he's all screwed up and he doesn't pan out. Things don't pan out the way you don't wish it upon anybody, but like, look at the Tom Brady thing, right? You don't know when a person's relationship's going to fall apart. That's dumb luck that, hey, if this guy was at his absolute best and wasn't distracted, then maybe things would have gone differently and you wouldn't have won a championship. Like, that's just all part of it. So the numbers are bigger than you think, from certain shots falling, not falling, all of that stuff. So maybe I'll just split the difference to say 70-30. And 30% luck is a big number to me. This isn't like 5% luck. This is like big time. You need everything to work. Reggie asks, if no one is willing to step up and buy the team, what happens? I can't wrap my head around how the team moves forward, let alone how we keep any of the core 7 or 8 guys. Somebody's going to buy the team. Somebody will buy the team. This is complete capitalism, economics. If they set the price at $6 billion and nobody steps up, then you've got to drop the price. This is how prices are supposed to be set. The market dictates what the price is. And you can say, well, certain guys have spent this many billion on their teams. How can the Celtics not get $6 billion? Well, that's just, as I've said a million times in this podcast, they don't own the building. They don't own. So there are things that you get when you buy the Clippers that you don't get when you buy the Celtics. So the market will determine the price. And because Irv Grousbeck wants to move on and have his estate planning and all of that, they will get what they can get. So if the price drops to 5, let's say it drops to 4 even. At some point, the price will drop. Someone will come in. John Karalis, sudden multi-billionaire, come in and say, I'm not going to give you more than $3.5 billion. And they say, well, I'm sorry, we're asking 6. And I'm going to say, I'm sorry, there's no other offers. So 3.5 or that's it. And the pressure's on. They might just say, fine. Or there might be some negotiation, or there might be some reconsideration. And maybe I can move, but the market will dictate the price. Somebody will buy the team. Now, the question is who that is. Is it Pagliuca like I think it's going to be? Or is it going to be somebody else? I don't know. And how they move forward, I don't know. It's going to be a lot. There's a lot going on here that could impact how they move forward, but someone will buy the team. Now, does this team stay together after this season? Might not matter. If the team was never up for sale, it might break up. If the team is bought by the richest person in the world, it might break up. So that part, we're just gonna have to wait and see. Kevin from LA asks, do you think Sam Hauser might regress this season as Eastern Conference teams are getting tougher? Will they try to target Sam, getting him out of rhythm, especially without Kristaps' 3-point shooting? So we talked about guys who might regress in a podcast last week. Sam Hauser, we didn't talk about him much. There is a potential for him to regress. He will continue to get targeted. That is no doubt about that. But also, he's handled the targeting pretty well. That's going to be something that he's going to have to work on. And I'm hoping that his summer was just a lot of, I would say drills on one side of the floor where you're going side to side, just back and forth, left, right, cone, 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 right? You touch one cone, touch the other cone, touch the other cone, with a coach somewhere in the middle, just bashing them with a pad, and then sprint up the floor, get the pass, shoot, go back, do it again. Simulate that defense, right? That's the drill I would put him through. Get 3 cones at the block, middle of the lane, free throw, and just have him go side to side, and have somebody beating him up. And then put cones out to the 3-point line and have him go middle of the lane to the 3-point line and back, and having somebody with a pad beat him up, and then sprint to a spot, catch and shoot. Get used to that, because that's going to be your life for 82 games or however many games you play. I think he can handle it. I do think he can handle it. Will he regress? I don't think anything in a material way. I think he's going to have a pretty standard Sam Hauser season where he's going to shoot 40%. I think he'll be okay on defense. He's not going to make an all defense team, but he'll hold his own and be okay. So I'm not that worried. Plus he's, young. He just did have a kid. So maybe he's a little tired, but hey, you got to get out there and do the work. I'm sure he's going to be fine. Let's come back and talk more about Joe Mazzulla's coaching staff and Tatum's spot on the all-time points scored list. Where will he end up? That is next. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. I know I've talked about FanDuel a lot. It's America's #1 sports book because they do things a little bit differently, like giving you a chance at 3 weeks free of NFL Sunday Ticket. You've got a few more days through September 22nd. Every single FanDuel customer, all you got to do is place a $5 bet. You get 3 weeks of free NFL Sunday Ticket. Try it out from YouTube TV and YouTube. And if you want to throw $5 down, I'm looking at this Patriots line, 6.5-point underdogs to the New York Jets. They can't lose to the Jets, can they? At least cover the spread. Maybe I'll put $5 on the Patriots. That way I'm going to get that 3-week free trial. And I know with YouTube TV, with the multi-view, it's going to look super cool. If you have the YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out of market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel at any time. All you got to do is visit FanDuel.com and download America's #1 sportsbook. Thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Once again, Built Different is my book. It's now available on johnkaralis.com. Built Different, and also my other book, the Boston Celtics All-Time All-Stars. 2 books. I buy one, buy both. $30, signed copy. Built Different celebrates the Celtics run to the championship. It's a great way to relive the 18th championship. So I'll sign it. If you've already bought one, by the way, I will sign a label that you can put into the book. That's only $15, personalized. Let me know. Go to my website, johnkaralis.com. Let me know what you want it to say, to whom I make it out. Buy it as a gift. Christmas is coming up. Holidays are coming up. Could be a great gift for the Celtics fan out there. So go check that out. Let's wrap up the mailbag portion of this show from Joe, whose question is about the coaching staff as Charles Lee left for Charlotte. Who will replace him? How will this impact the coaching team? I don't think it's going to impact much. Who replaces him directly? Sam Cassell gets promoted to associate head coach, or I think that's going to be the title there. But he basically steps up and becomes Joe's right-hand man. The rest of the bench kind of looks the same. I don't know if anybody else moves to the front from the back. I haven't seen how that's going to be doled out, but a couple of new player enhancement coaches coming in, God Sham God Jr., Alex Merg, Nana Fowland, a couple of people here, new coaches coming in on the player enhancement side. So a couple of new names, but mostly the same. I think Joe's really good about keeping guys, empowering his guys, and making sure everybody's voices are heard. So I think most of the staff is going to be here. A few guys left, some really good guys too. But I expect the coaching staff to kind of move forward without skipping a beat. Adam asks some more weird Tatum discourse on national podcasts. Where do you think Tatum can land in the all-time points scored list, given his availability and consistency? So Tatum is currently at just under 12,000 regular season points. So we're just going regular season. That's how we determine the all-time scoring list. 11,852. So that's almost 12. He's been pretty consistent about games played. 74, 74, 76, 64 in that 2021 season. It's the COVID season. 66. That was the weirdness. So that already pre-factors in some lower weird totals. So through 7 years of his career, and he turns 27 at the end of this season, right? He just turned 26. He turns 27 in March. So he will end the season as 27 through, and that will be his 8th season. So through 7, we'll just round it to 12. The next 7 will bring him to 34. Can he get to 12? Let's round down to 11. So let's say it's 12 and he gets to 11, and that gets us to 23,000 by the time he's 34. It might be 23,000 in a little bit if he maintains this level of availability. Now, his production, his point totals will fluctuate. Maybe at some point he has to do more scoring after the impact of the second apron takes away guys. He'll have to do a little bit more scoring. So we could make that 12. He could get up to 24, but let's just say roughly between 23 and 24,000 by the time he turns 34. Now 34 is all right. We're going to have a sense there. How good is Tatum really at 34? Can he get to 40? Can he do another 6 seasons? Can he do 7 more and get to 41? Well, he's not going to score another 12,000. That would be ridiculous. But if he averages 15 points a game over 70 games or so, that's a little over 1,000. So at 23,000 currently, that would put him 36th above Chris Paul. Damian Lillard will get up there. He's at 41. He's got 20,151. He'll score a few thousand more probably. So by the time he's 34, Tatum will be in the 30-ish range. If he can score 1,000 points over the next, can he get to 40 years old? 6 years? 6,000 points? Well, if he's at 24 and 24 plus 6 is 30, he has an outside chance. He has an outside chance at being a 30,000 point scorer. I think there is a real possibility that Tatum could move into the top 10 all time in NBA scoring. Maybe you say, okay, well, the tail end, the 38, 39, 40 seasons is a bit much to ask him to score 1,000 points. Okay, fair. So maybe you bring him down into the 28,000, 27,000, 26,000. Well, if he does all of this with Boston, John Havlicek's all-time scoring number is 26,395. Tatum has a real chance, if he plays his entire career with the Celtics, of becoming Boston's all-time leading scorer. I think that's well within his reach at this pace, with this availability, the consistency. And I think his game can shift So I feel like him averaging 15 points a game in the later stages of his career is not out of the question. And now that also takes into account that maybe at 35, 36, he's averaging 18, and at 39 or 40, he's averaging 12 or 13. And that can round out to 15 points a game, and that can get him up into that range. But 12,000 through 7 seasons, even if he gets to 10 or 11,000 through his next 7 seasons, he's at 23, 24. Celtics all-time scoring record is definitely within reach. If he stays healthy, if he finds a way to hit a bunch of jumpers in the later stages of his career and become mid-range assassin, maybe he climbs into, maybe he passes Carmelo, maybe he passes Shaq. There's Kevin Durant's at 28,924. He'll get to 30,000. And that would make him the 8th player in NBA history to score 30,000 points. Tatum has a chance to climb into that role for sure. I think he can do it. But it'll be tough. But he has a chance. Finally, Mike, what drives you the most crazy? A, fans who worry about how the owners can afford to keep the team together. B, fans who cry doom and gloom after a January road loss in Charlotte. C, fans who ask multiple choice questions. D, none of the above. I'm going to throw out C because I answered this question, so it doesn't drive me the most crazy. I'm not going to get on fans who worry about owners because I think I'm talking about it a lot, and it's not about whether they have the money and can afford it. And we can sit there and say, just spend the money. But also, they never or rarely just spend the money. This Celtics ownership group is doing it. Just spending the money is difficult. And I don't mind a fan dealing with the reality because rich people don't stay rich by giving all their money away. So I'm not worried about that. But it does drive me absolutely nuts with the doom and gloom after a January road loss in Charlotte. Like, January is always tough. The people who listen, you're a fan. I get it. You live and die by these games, but that's fine. And I'm not telling you to not be upset by these losses, but I am saying the notion that like that January road loss in Charlotte is so devastating, and these guys, it just shows they ain't got it. That just drives me up a wall, because that has no bearing on it. Now, if there are longer trends, sure. But single losses like that, especially now, the Celtics team is stepping into this next phase of like you're gonna have to get used to some of those losses, I think. So that's what drives me most crazy. What doesn't drive me crazy, or what will drive me crazy, I should say, is if you go listen to another podcast. You can't. No, Locked On Celtics has to be your number one. No, I'm only kidding. But it is the best Celtics podcast out there. It's free. You don't have to pay for it. It's daily. It's Monday through Friday. It's post game, whether that game is on a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. So sometimes I'll be podcasting 6 or 7 days a week. I don't need 3 people to get me through daily. I am here every day. So not every podcast can say that, but I will be here every day. I am on every single podcast, 5, 6, 7 days a week sometimes. So subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Watch a show on YouTube, get into the comment section, and now share the podcast. Spread the word. Tell everybody they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.